everyone. So I wanted to do a video. I posted on Facebook a bunch of pendants that I had been working on. Here are some of them. They turned out really cool, and this one is already spoken for, but I will have some of these other ones in my Etsy later on this week or next week. I've had a lot of questions on how I do my pendants, so I just wanted to do a better close-up video with the supplies that I use and how I glue everything together. And also what I use to save my paint, because I use a couple of different things. So first off, some people use diamond glaze. I've used it. I've also used this lily glaze. I get it online from Lily D's website. They have a website and they also have an Etsy. I'm not sponsored by them whatsoever, but I will put a link to it because they have a lot of great supplies for creating pendants and other types of jewelry. I also have a handful of different sizes of glass cabs that I use. I get these from a lot of different sources: Amazon, eBay, Etsy. I've done some Google searches and found some other craft jewelry making websites that I get them from. But if you'd like to see them from Amazon, I do have my affiliate link in the description of the video, and I do have some different sizes of glass domes and the pendant trays that you can get with them. And then when I'm painting, some people asked how I got such nice cells in some of the pieces that I used. And what I tend to do is mix up a little bit of extra paint and save it to specifically do a pour or a swipe that I can use later on for jewelry. So these that I've saved are on freezer paper. So they will, let's see if I can get one. They will, as you can see, it'll peel off. So this comes right off, and then you have the skin that you can work with. These are just on some acid-free cardstock that I had. So I just cut these up and pour some extra on this and let it dry. Obviously it doesn't come off like the freezer paper, so I just put the glass dome on it, glue it, and then cut around it. I do like these. They're a little bit sturdier. With pieces like this, I also make magnets out of them. So I like having different sizes of things so that I can do different smaller projects with it. And then for some larger pieces, I use watercolor paper. And this is, I believe it's 140 pound Canson watercolor paper. You can get it from Michael's, Amazon, a lot of different places. It's just one of the more cost-friendly brands that you can use. And I dipped these and have some really pretty designs in them. So I like to keep these two, again, so I can make magnets and pendants out of it. And with the watercolor paper, I actually got the, I believe it's 18 by 24 size, so it's quite large. But I've poured on the watercolor paper and actually framed it, and I really like the way that that turns out. So you can do a lot of different things. You don't need canvas. You don't need wood. I pour on watercolor paper and it works out fine for me. So there are a lot of different resources that you can use. But for this video, I just wanted to glue some of these, and then I will show you when it's dry what I do with them. I normally let it dry for at least a couple of days before I cut it out and glue it. I want to give it enough time to really cure so there's not a lot of moisture. And these pieces have been drying for, gosh, this has been drying for at least a week. This is probably 2 weeks. So I don't, paint it and then the day later use it to make jewelry, because you don't want any moisture in it. But I have 2 of these ovals. And I'm going to use one oval on the purple and one on the green. So one thing that I do, instead of cutting my shapes first to fit this, I just take my glass and glue it directly onto my entire piece and then cut around it when it's dry, so you get that really nice clean edge. But I like doing it this way so that I can move the glass around and find sections that I really like to glue on that. So actually this is I'm going to do a couple right in here. I really like these cells. I like the blue underneath and the purple under that green. So I'm going to do a smaller one down here and then the larger one up there. And so when you first put the glue down, it does have a little bit of color to it, but it dries clear. So you don't need that much, just a little bit. I move it around and let's see, I'm liking that portion right there. So I'll just let that one go right there. And then this one. And I move it around. And once you put that glue down, it really helps the colors pop out too, so you can pick out sections that you like, and just like that. So I have those two pieces. You can put something heavy on it to weigh it to keep it down. I normally just press on it for a little bit, and it also helps get some of the air bubbles out. One thing I do have a problem with the watercolor paper, because it kind of warps a little bit. It's not flat, so when you put a glass dome on it, I do put something a little bit heavier on this to keep it flat. And just gonna see, I really like the colors and the design in this corner, so I'm gonna do one more. So as you can see from saving just this one little skin, I'm getting multiple items out of it, and they all look a little different. I really like this portion up here with that green kind of cutting through the purple and the blue, and then the cells in those two. So I'm going to set this one aside and I'll do one of these purple ones. So both of these pieces have some really nice cells. So it does take me a little bit of time because I'll move my glass around to see where I really want to get the piece glued to. But since these are larger, I can do multiple pieces. So we'll do a few. Those all look pretty cool. And then you can see, you have the really nice cells in them. And if you don't have it straight, it will fall off. So I'm going to set this one aside. And next I'm going to use... So even this one is one that I've actually already cut out a couple of pieces, as you can see. But I really liked this bottom piece right here. And I have some really small glass domes that I was using for some hair clips. So I saved this piece so that I could use just some of these smaller chunks. So even once you cut your pieces out that you've already glued, you can still find some really nice designs to reuse. So I'll glue those. And I try and, for these hair clips, I'll show a picture once they're all put together, but I do 2 at a time. So when I'm gluing, I try and find a piece that similar color, try and get a similar design so that they match. And I do the same thing with earrings, and I have a slightly larger glass dome for that. These are 12 millimeter, these are 14. These that I use for bookmarks are 20 millimeter. For pendants, 25, and then the ovals are 30 millimeter by 40 millimeter. And you can actually get them, I mean, if you start shopping around, you can find glass domes in tons of different sizes and varieties. They're teardrop shapes, there's squares, there's hearts. There are all sorts of them. So I'll glue a couple more down, and then I will let these dry and show you what they look like when I start cutting everything out. Alright, so these have been drying for a while. They're all nice and clear, all the glue is dry. With the ones on freezer paper, what you can actually do is peel it off, and then you just have your skin, or you can cut around the piece and then take the paper right off. So I like to take the paper off so that when you glue it, it won't come out of, the paper won't get stuck and this won't come off. So I have, let's see, I have a couple of different pendant trays. I'll cut these out and then I'll just show you gluing them in. And then after they're all dry, some final pieces. So this is a 20mm glass cab, and what I have are some different bookmarks. I have this cute little owl shape, and then I have some that are rulers. So what I will do, that one, I always check first to make sure that they're going to fit in there. If there's extra edges that need to be trimmed, I'll trim them off. I also have this 25mm and then a pendant tray, and then I just put it in and adjust it until I like the final design. I'd like it, no, I like it with the cells going sideways, so I'll do that. And then I have one of these ovals. And I like doing it this way, gluing it on and then trimming it out. You get some really nice clean edges. Make sure that you have your design the way that you want it. And then pendant tray. Like I said, I always test it out, make sure it's going to fit just fine, and then I'll glue it. I try and get a nice even coat of glue. And then, how do I want this one? Let me look here. I think I want it to go this way. That looks really cool. The green around the blue and purple created some really nice cells. So I will set that aside and I will let those dry. And the glue that I like to use, and I think a lot of people use it, is the E6000. It smells pretty bad, but it is a really strong, it's an industrial strength adhesive, dries clear, and I haven't had any issues with pendants coming out of the trays at all.